Welcome to Politics Personified, an IG Live series presented by the Personified Group. Our expert featured guest is State Representative Donna McLeod, who represents House District 105, and she's running for Congress in Georgia's 7th District. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. Yay.
Right.
Thursday, and we have 2 more days of session for the 40-day session that we have in the state of Georgia to do the people's business and pass a budget for the state of Georgia. So I've got 2 more days, tomorrow and Monday, which is sine die, and that's the end of session. Doesn't mean that our work as state legislators end, because we do have constituent services. So I'm just, but I am excited about seeing this session, and it's been a pretty turbulent one.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's very exciting. We definitely appreciate you taking this time to speak with your constituents, to speak with everyone, because we have people from all over that are joining us. So we're really excited about this. Just 1 second, guys. You guys continue to tag your friends and make sure they log in. Okay, got a little bit of feedback, but that's okay. So Donna, how are you doing? What's going on?
So it's been hectic. Yesterday was a pretty monumentous day. Well, we had I'll say there were some highs and some lows. The lows was that we ended up passing a constitutional carry in Georgia, where, not requiring a permit, which is ridiculous. We have a Second Amendment right to bear arms, and I don't see why we need to put more guns on the street, and especially ones that are not controlled in some ways. We should be looking at getting background checks, so that we don't have guns that could really. I know their messages, guns don't kill anyone, but people with guns kill people. So yeah. So it's quite interesting. But we also passed the first time in Georgia a mental health parity bill, which basically makes mental health just as important as when you physically hurt, and that's important. And I think COVID has really made sure that people stand and pay attention to people's mental health. And so we're very proud of that. That was definitely a bipartisan effort to make sure that bill went through.
Awesome. We learned a lot about bipartisanship, I think our last episode. But before we even dive in, I just want to make sure those who are joining us for the first time that they get a warm welcome. This is Politics Personified, presented by the Personified Group, and our featured expert guest is State Representative 2-term. That's important to say, guys. She has won 2 elections, 2-term State Representative Donna McLeod. She represents House District 105, and she's running for Congress. She is running for Congress in Georgia's 7th District, right here locally in Atlanta, Georgia's 7th District. And even if you don't live in the Atlanta area, you can still support her campaign. You can still learn, about the legislative process, because it affects you in any state, any city, any region. So please make sure, continue to follow us. Log in every Thursday at 7:00 p.m. and we're going to have an expert State Representative Donna McLeod with us live, answering those questions that you have about the legislative process. And then she's going to dive in deep about her congressional campaign. Of course, you don't want to miss that. So, Donna, we usually now start our live. You tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe some things that people don't know about, because, they don't put everything in the articles. So you want to tell some of our viewers a little bit about yourself before we dive into the legislative process?
Most people don't know that I'm a chemical engineer by profession. So I graduated back in the 80s, late 80s. But over the years, I've become when I started, I used to test products for the market and do research and development. But as the years went by, I got into quality management. And one of the product line that I got more involved with is medical devices. And and everyone has used a medical device at some point or another. And from catheters to knee replacement to heart rate, defibrillation, and also there's a multitude of devices. Some simple and some more extensive, some that are used in cancer treatment and some that are just used for mitigation. So, and what I do, I started my own company, and what we do is going to medical device companies that are having trouble, usually with the FDA, because they have not met compliance. And so what I do is help them with their standard operating procedure, make sure their processes are are correct, so that they'll have a finished product that actually is safe for the consumer. And all of us are consumers, so it's important that people have good quality products to use once it gets to the market. So that's what that's something that somebody might not know about me, but that's something I did for over 3 decades.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate your time, Donna. We're not going to take too much of it, and we appreciate those who are joining us tonight. Again, this is Politics Personified with State Representative Donna McLeod. So we're going to jump in with some legislative learning. Okay. So Donna is an expert in all things legislation, right? So Donna, talk to us about voting plans. Many people don't think about a plan when it's election season. Can you talk to us about why that's important?
Yes. So making a plan to vote, because most of you know that there are different options and different ways to vote. And so the first thing I've been asking everyone to do is to make sure they go to mvp.sos.ga.gov. That's mvp.sos.ga.gov. Or you can go to vote.org, vote.org. And actually, when you get to that site, it'll actually take you to the Secretary of State website. So in the state of Georgia, and that vote.org can be used anywhere in the U.S. To make sure that you can check your voter registration status. And that's the first thing you want to do. Make sure you're still registered to vote, because we've had a lot of purging of our voter roll in the state of Georgia. A lot of people who have not voted in like 2 election cycles, they are taking them off the voter roll or putting them inactive. So you want to make sure, if you're in the inactive state, all you have to do is make sure you vote this cycle, and your voter platform will become active again. So check your voter registration status. If you're not registered to vote, please get registered to vote. And you can do that again through the vote.org. It'll have an option to check your registration status, register to vote. So get registered to vote. If you've moved, check your locations on once you get there. If you have moved, please update your status as to where you live now, so you can vote in the precinct that you now live in. So make sure you get it updated. You can do that online as well. The other thing is, check the accuracy of your voter registration form. I actually had a call yesterday telling me that somebody had their ethnicity was redesigned. They are Black, but their ethnicity says now that they're white. And so you want to check to make sure all of that is correct, because if you do vote in person and you are Black and your registration says white, they might turn you down from voting. So please check to make sure the accuracy, your address, your phone, your address, your date of birth, your polling location. Just check the accuracy of everything. And then, of course, get ready to vote, right?
Right, absolutely.
So early voting will start on May 2nd for the primary. For the primary, this is where you actually get a chance, an opportunity to choose which person you want to represent you on the November ballot in the party. And this is completely partisan, because you have to pull either a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. If you pull a nonpartisan ballot, don't expect to find all the candidates on that. All you'll find on a nonpartisan ballot is your judicial, and in the case of Gwinnett County, you'll find the judges as well as the school board candidates. Those are the ones that are considered nonpartisan. You want to actually get everybody, including the judges and the school board of members. Just pull either a Democratic or a Republican ballot. You'll get every candidate that is on the election ballot. The next thing,
now let me pause you for a second, Donna. I want to go back to that voter plan. You mentioned how you had a situation where someone whose ethnicity was misplaced, right? So how much time should one plan to make sure that their voter registration is updated? So early voting starts May 2nd. So do they need 5 days, 2 weeks? Can you kind of give us a timeline as to how soon they need to plan for this, so if something comes up, it can be corrected and they won't be delayed in voting?
As soon as you do check things, immediately, if there's anything wrong, make sure you get it corrected. In order to vote in this particular election, you have to be registered to vote by April 25th. I believe that's the deadline to vote in this election. Once this election is over, then there'll be another opening date for registering to vote for the next election. But for this election, April 25th, I believe, is the deadline. So when you're making a plan to vote, I'm talking about the options that you have to vote. So if early voting starts on May 2nd and ends on May 20th, you want to decide, am I going to vote early? Then you want to make sure that you make a plan to vote at least within that time frame of May 2nd to May 2nd to May 20th. If you are wanting to vote absentee, you will need to request a ballot. So that you need to do now. And actually, any election that is going on, you have, I think it's 180 days prior to the election to basically request your absentee ballot. Again, that's the request the ballot. So you fill out the application, and then you send that into your board of elections or the Secretary of State, and a ballot will be sent to your home. So that is the absentee ballot process. It's not vote by mail. It's absentee because you actually have to request the ballot to come to your home. So
So can you give us an example of someone that would benefit from an absentee ballot? Because some people will think, oh, you know what, I just don't feel like going to the polls. Is that someone that actually would benefit or that you would encourage to get an absentee ballot? Is there a category that someone would fall under?
So for absentee voting, most of the time, it's usually people that are immobile, but we have no reason absentee voting. So, but you just have to request it on time, and you have to make sure that you get it before, because you don't want to leave it to the last minute, because then, you have to fill it out, put postage on it, and mail it in, and then hope that your ballot is counted if you don't get it on time. So the earlier you actually make this plan to do absentee voting, is the earlier you will actually have the ability to vote absentee. And then, of course, the last part of that plan, if you choose to, is I encourage everybody to vote early, because especially as a candidate, we like to be able to bank those votes early. Yes. But if you are one of those people that absolutely do not like to vote by using absentee, or you absolutely do not like to vote early, then the last day to vote will be May 24th. Again, that's always kind of makes you kind of queasy, because if something drastic happens on May 24th, like we got, rain or
power outage,
anything can happen. So usually, I like I actually, since I've been voting, I have never voted at my polling location. I've always voted early. And last year I voted absentee. You can also track your voting process on that mvp.sos.ga. You can actually see your voter status as you voted. So once you voted, it should be uploaded into that space, and you should be able to see that your ballot was either was received, or if you vote in person, it will tell you that you've already voted. So those are the plans. And again, the last day to vote for the primary will be May 24th.
May 24th. Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's just recap this. First, check your voter registration on mvp.gov.
mvp.sos. So let me tell you what it means.
You guys got that? I hope you guys are taking notes, because I'm not able to.
Yeah, so MVP means my voter page. .sos means the Secretary of State. .ga, which is Georgia. .gov, which means the government site. But you can also skip all of that and just go to vote.org. The reason why I give you both is because if you want to go directly to the Secretary of State, MVP will take you directly to Georgia's Secretary of State website. If you go through vote.org, it has to basically redirect you, because it encompasses all 50 states, and I think maybe the territories as well, but all 50 states. So it will read by, when you put in your zip code, it will take you to the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Makes sense. Okay. So you check your registration status as early as possible. Early voting is May 2nd. And so you want to make sure that if there's any discrepancies, it could be ethnicity, it could be age, it could be your date of birth.
Yeah.
You don't want to be stopped at the polls. So that's really critical to make sure that you do check as soon as possible, so that anything can be rectified if necessary. All right, so that's the first step. And then the next step is to decide if you want to do absentee voting or not, right? And then if you want to do absentee voting, you need to make sure that you get your paperwork in order, request your ballot in a sufficient amount of time, again, to make sure that your vote counts. And last but not least, and maybe not even a last thought, is State Representative Donna McLeod is encouraging us to vote early. I want to emphasize on that. Vote early, because that helps them to gauge the voter turnout, voter participation, voter engagement. So if you have all your ducks in order, you already checked the MVP site, voter.org site, and you are ready to vote, make sure you get there early. Make sure you get there on May 2nd. Make sure you have a plan. And of course, make sure you bring someone with you. Make sure you text your friends, tell them, hey, this is a very critical election, and it's important that you get out and vote. So we appreciate those.
Let me say something also about early voting. The early voting locations will not, one or two might be on election day site, but most of your early voting locations are separate from your election day polling locations. So early voting is usually there's probably in our county, it's about 8 or 9 sites that are spread out throughout the county. And so anyone can go in any of those locations and they can vote no matter where they live. But on election day, you have to go to the polling location that is actually your home polling location. So you will have to go to the vote.org or the mvp.sos.ga.gov site and find out your precinct and where you go to vote on election day. That is completely separate from early voting locations. So early voting location, you can vote at anywhere in those locations, no matter where you live, but it is specific to early voting. Once early voting ends, then you're going to be going to your own polling location. So you will need to know where you go and vote on election day.
Very good information, because people will show up to their regular precinct and then they'll be discouraged and may not want to come back a few weeks later.
Exactly.
And it's just a few weeks later. So again, the point of the Politics Personified is to educate you guys on the legislative process, the basics of voting, the basics of government affairs, and then also, of course, to talk about Donna's campaign. So please make sure.
So I did see somebody say in the chat to bring snacks. Yeah, if the day if you're planning to go again, it's part of the plan, right? We did pass SB 202, which I absolutely think is a disgusting law, but it also could penalize anyone from giving you food or water in the line. So prepare yourself in the line to make sure you can hydrate, and if you need to snack, bring your snacks. So again, I encourage everyone to make sure they make a plan. And again, there's off times too. So if you can get to vote around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, you'll tend that the line will be shorter and faster for you to get through. So make a plan. Make a plan. Okay. That's all.
Okay.
Awesome. The excitement of being in the line.
Yeah. So let me just ask you regarding that bill that just passed. So it's okay for you to supply your own water and snacks, but you just can't receive it from someone outside the line. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Because I had the understanding, and I'm sure many others did, that, okay, we can't bring water at all, but it's not that. It's just the distribution of it is what they banned.
That's what they're banning.
Wow. Okay. And someone else also said, make sure you bring folding chairs as well. So we don't want you to be discouraged. We don't want you to dehydrate. So make sure you bring your water, bring your snack, and bring a chair. And don't get out of line. And make sure you cast your vote, right?
Absolutely. Don't get out of line. And again, like I said, there are different times of the day that the lines tend to be slower. Obviously, the first 2 days of early voting usually gets people excited and they want to go out early. So the lines tend to be longer. So, again, make a plan. Just make a plan.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay. So we're going to switch gears because we're at that halfway point. So we now want to dive into this congressional race. Okay. Donna is running for Congress in Georgia 7th District. Just to tell you guys really quickly about Donna's connection to the 7th, and then I'll let her speak for herself. So Donna has lived in the 7th District for over 20 years. I think it's 22 years if I recall. Okay. Lives in the 7th District, resides in the 7th District, not just driving through, waving, hey, y'all, I'm your leader. No, she lives there, okay? So folks that live in the 7th District, she's your neighbor, okay? She shops at your stores, right? Not only that, she raised her daughter in the 7th District, okay? And now she's helping to raise her grandson in the 7th District. So Donna represents the 7th District. And as we all know, representation matters, not just when it comes to ethnicity, not just when it comes to gender, but it matters within your community. It matters to have someone in an elected position that represents you, that represents your ideology, that understands the need within your community. So I just wanted to give that background that, hey, this is a candidate that actually lives in the 7th District, and she's running to continue to represent Georgia's 7th District. So I want to go right in, Donna, because I know people want to know, hey, we know you live in the 7th District. We hear that. That's awesome. We love the representation. talk to us about the impact that you've had on some legislative issues that's been going around, like Build Back Better. I know you've had an impact on that locally. Can you talk more about your impact and what you have done and how you're going to continue to do that work in Congress?
So one of the things I want to make clear about when you stress the fact that I live in a district, what is important is that my opponents cannot vote for themselves because they do not live in the district. And that is just a fact. If you don't live in a congressional district and you're going to vote, your name will not be on the ballot that you pull. So I live in the 7th. The ballot that I pull will have my name on it. But my opponents, when they pull their ballots, whatever congressional district they live in, their name is not on that ballot. So that's very important. And I think representation does matter. Over the years, because I've been here for the last, and actually this is my 22nd year in the same house. Because I've been here and I know the small businesses, I know the businesses in my area. During COVID, it was really a difficult time. And even before, obviously, Build Back Better did not pass. But even without that, you know, we have to keep on making sure that our community is always building back better. And so one of the things is I help a restaurant and a beauty shop, a couple of big beauty shops to stay afloat. And in fact, the beauty shop was able to, in fact, build back better because she was able to redesign the beauty shop so that it was more efficient for her. And also, if they were ever hit with another like pandemic, she was going to be able to survive it. And so that is the kind of things that when we're talking about helping our community, because at the end of the day, what really always matters as the person who's going to be representing people is that we use the tax dollars to help. That is why we all kind of, when we pay taxes, we are actually saying that we would like to have a return on that investment. We'd like to make sure that those funds will be able to be used if we ever need it. And some of the things we take for granted, like driving on roads that are paved and that you don't have to pay a toll. That's because we all collectively, say we want nice roads to drive on so our cars aren't damaged. And that's the kind of infrastructure stuff that we do. You know, working with the local elected officials as well that I've been doing for over a decade. Making sure that our commissioners, mayors, and city council people are all working to make sure our constituents are getting what they need. And each branch of each different layer of government has a role. But as a state legislator, what has been most important for me is to make sure that the constituents that I serve get the things that they need. When they call and they say, I need something, I need to be able to give them the resources to get it.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so you've done the work. You've done the work in the district well over 4 years because you were serving behind the scenes, right? Serving behind the scenes for years, right? So what is your most passionate issue that you're going to continue to fight for your constituents? What issue is that?
I have a couple. I'm very, very passionate about. One is healthcare, because I absolutely believe that healthcare should be a right in this country, and no one should have to choose between food and medicine. That is just a moral obligation. I think if anyone gets sick, they would spend every last dime to make sure that they could get healthy. And all of us know what pain feels like because we share that human condition. When we hurt, when our head hurts, when we feel pain. And so for me, that is so very important that we make sure people have access to healthcare. The other thing that is so impactful because the vote actually is something that we do for each other, right? We live in a republic, and representative democracy is so very important for us to all kind of, collectively say what we like and what we don't like. And for a lot of people out there, they don't realize that the actual vote is not a right for most of us. The only people that actually have a right to vote in this country that were actually written in the Constitution were white men with land. All of the rest of us are an amendment to our Constitution. And as an amendment, that means that it's an ability, it's not a right. And so 2/3 of Congress could actually remove all of that. So the 15th Amendment, of course, slavery had to be abolished, which was the 13th Amendment. But the 15th Amendment gave Black men the ability to vote. The 19th Amendment gave women the ability to vote. And the 26th Amendment gave young people 18 years of age and older the ability to vote, not an absolute right. So when we're fighting for the ability to vote, it's because it's not a right.
Wow. And you know what? I know you have some history behind impacting voter registration here in Georgia. We have new viewers on tonight. So can you just share a little bit about your impact? I think the number is 30,000, maybe?
30,000 plus. So long before anyone even thought about looking at the Gwinnett area in the 7th Congressional District, I was registering people to vote. In fact, I started a nonprofit organization called CANI, Community Action Network Initiatives, and that is a civic organization. We've registered over 30,000 people. But not only that, early voting, extended early voting, fought for that by making sure that I went to the Board of Elections meeting every 3rd Tuesday of the month for over a decade to make sure some of the changes that you see here on voting that we have. You know, the fact that you have Sunday voting, that was not automatic. We actually had to fight for Sunday voting in this county. And we had to basically negotiate with the folks that were on the Board of Elections to make sure that everyone could, you know, have a soul to the poll, and churches could organize and get people to vote, and they could be there with their friends and their families, and make a day of it. In fact, the first time we did it, we made a day of it. We set up tents. It was a good time. Music was being played. So again, you know, that is a very important ability to be able to vote on Sunday, because a lot of us, you know, work all week, don't have the opportunity. And that's why we even pushed on early voting, because we've got people that work, you know, 7 days a week. And sometimes they just don't get time to vote. And so we're trying to make sure we give as many options as possible. Some people work 6 days, 7 days. Some people work at nights. Some people work, you know, in the daytime. By the time they finish, the polls are closed. That's why we wanted to give as many options as possible. Because if you either believe in our republic and representative democracy, or you don't. And if you believe in it, that means you should make as much provision so that people have access to the ballot. There are 2 requirements to voting. One, you must be a citizen of the United States of America. And the second is you must be 18 years of age and older. Those are the 2 important criteria to voting.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, we appreciate all your effort and your work with registering 30,000 plus voters. Y'all make sure y'all make a note of that. 30,000. 30. I think I said that already. I'm going to say it one more time. 30,000 plus. I don't know anyone else who has done that. I don't know anyone else on this congressional ticket that's doing that or done that. So you guys do your homework. Keep joining us every week. Keep learning. Someone said, I never heard the breakdown of the amendments like that before with voting rights. Keep joining us. I'm telling you, I'm learning, you're learning, we're all going to learn together. We're going to be better because of it. Our legislative system is going to be better because of it. We're going to understand the process and get involved and make a change because of it. And we're going to get the right people in office, such as State Representative Donna McLeod. So again, we appreciate you guys joining us. I promised you 30 minutes. I know we're at the end, but I'm going to let State Representative Donna McLeod close us out with her closing remarks, and then we're going to let you guys go.
Thank you. And thank you all of you that joined us. Please visit my website at www.donnamcleod.com. That's DONNAMCLEOD. It sounds like cloud, but it's spelled MCLEOD.com. Visit us, and we'll be back next week, and we'll be giving you more information so you can use it. Because the more you know is the better you can make decisions. And knowledge is the most powerful thing we give to ourselves. But the vote is the most powerful thing that we give to each other. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, you guys, you heard it from the expert, State Representative Donna McLeod. She currently represents House District 105 here in Georgia, but she's running for Congress in Georgia's 7th District. Please make sure to visit her website. Please support her campaign. Please donate. Please tell your friends. Everybody knows somebody that lives in Atlanta, and you never know, they might live in the 7th District. So make sure you tell your friends, and we will be back again next week at 7 p.m. here on IG Live. We appreciate you guys, and have a good night.
Good night. night.
Good night, everyone.